All right, boys and girls. So today we're going to take a look at Lesson 16's problem set. You guys have already done the Zern lesson, so you kind of already have an idea of what we're doing. So go ahead and have your Lesson 16 problem set out for me. And we're going to show division using disk. And we're going to relate our work on the place value chart to long division. Long division, guys, is called long division simply because you take it step by step, and once you get into multi-digit numbers, it's going to be a long process. So that's where long division comes into play. Okay, you're going to check your quotient. Your quotient, remember, is your answer when you're dividing, so it's your answer to a division problem, and the remainder, or whatever is left, by using multiplication and addition. So we're going to be using the inverse operation of division, which is multiplication, to check our answer, and we're going to have to use addition because we're going to be adding back in those remainders. Okay? All right, so let's get started. Here I have 7 divided by 2. Over here, you're going to see 7 written inside the division bracket. You still say this the same way. One mistake a lot of 4th graders make is they want to say 2 divided by 7. Well, it doesn't make sense. You don't have enough. You can't divide 2 by 7. So that doesn't make sense. Your larger quantity is always going to be what you're dividing into. So the number inside this division bracket is what we call our dividend. It's the number we're dividing into. And the number on the outside is the number we're dividing by, or our divisor. So this would still be read as 7 divided by 2. Okay? All right, so 7 divided by 2. So I have 7 ones. I'm going to go ahead and start out by putting my 7 ones in my place value chart. And there's my 7. And I'm dividing them into 2 groups. So I like to think of it as just splitting them into group 1 and group 2. All right, so I'm going to take my place value disk and I'm going to sort them into groups until I can't sort them anymore. So I have 1, let me mark that one off. 2, mark that one off. 3, mark that one off. 4, mark that one off. 5, mark that one off. 6, mark that one off. Oops, I only have 1 left. So there's no way for me to equally divide that 1 that's left. So that's going to end up being my remainder. So I'm going to have a remainder of 1. And here I can see I have 3 ones in each group. I have 3 ones in each group. So my quotient is going to end up being 3 with a remainder of 1. Now let's look at what that looks like in my standard algorithm here. So I know that 2 times 3 is going to get me close to 7. 2 times 3 is going to equal 6. So I've used 6 out of my 7. When I subtract, I'm going to have 1 left over. So I'm going to have 3 with the remainder of 1. Same thing that we have over here in our place value chart. So over here, I'm going to come over and I'm going to write my quotient, which is my answer of 3, and I have a remainder of 1. Now I'm going to check my work. We're using the inverse operation of division, which is multiplication. So 2 times 3, because I'm dividing by 2, and I said my quotient was 3, 2 times 3 is going to equal 6. But then remember, I have to add that remainder back. So my final answer is 7. So my answer is correct. I did my problem right. Yay me. All right, let's keep going. Now, problem number 2. 27 divided by 2. Let me see if I can make this a little clearer here. There we go. All right, so 27 divided by 2. Well, what do I notice that's similar to my first problem? I have a 7 in my ones place. Okay, so I already know how to do that. Well, 27, so I have a 20, so that's the same as 2 10s. Okay, so I have 2 10s, and then over here on this side, I'm going to put my 7 disc to represent my 7 ones. Okay, so here I have 2 10s and 7 ones, which is the same as 27. So again, I'm dividing by 2, so I'm going to make myself 2 groups here. And I label mine group 1 and group 2 just to help me remember. You don't have to do that. It's just something I like to do. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to split up these discs into 2 groups. Well, I take one 10 here, mark that out, put another 10 here, mark that out, and looky there, all my 10s are gone. All right, so let's go to the 7s. So I have, or the 1s, I'm sorry, not the 7s. So let's go to my 7 1s. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops, I only have 1 left, so I can't split it anymore. That's the same thing that happened in my first problem. So I'm going to have a remainder of 1. So now I have to look and see how many are in each group. Well, I have 1 10 and 3 1s. Well, you guys know that's 13. And I have another 1 and 3, or another 10 and 3 1s. So again, I have 13. So I have 2 groups of 13. And I have 1 left over. So let's see what this looks like up here in our division problem. And to be honest with you guys, they type so tiny, and I write a little bit bigger than that. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to rewrite this problem as 27. And remember, I read my division bracket as divided by 2. Okay, so when I look at this, I'm basically saying I have 2 10s and I want to split those 10s into 2 groups. So I can put 1 10 in each group. So I'm going to put my 1 10 above my 2 10s here, and now I'm going to multiply and see if I used all of them. So 1 times 2 is 2. So I've used my 2 10s. I have 0 10s left. Over here in our place value chart, we used both of our 10s. And so now I'm going to put my 7 1s beside my 0 10s. You'll hear people say that you bring down your 7. The reason you're bringing it down is because you're subtracting it. 7 minus 0 is 7. So you bring down that 7. All right, so 2 can go into 7. Well, I know 2 times 3 is 6. That's close to 7. So 2 times 3 is 6. So I use 6 of my 1s. How many 1s do I have left? I have 1. So I have a remainder of 1 1 that's left. So down here, I'm going to put my quotient. My quotient's 13. My remainder's 1. And I'm going to check my work. So if 27 divided by 2 is 13 with the remainder of 1, then 13 times 2 should give me 26. So let's see if it does. 13 times 2, 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 10 is 20, so I got 26. And then I have to come over here and add that remainder back in. So I have 27, which was my original problem. So I did it correct. Awesome. I hope you guys are understanding this. Let's move on to problem number 3. All right, we're back to dividing 1s by 1s again. So we're going to look at 8 1s divided by 3 1s, okay? So I'm going to put my 8 1s back in my place value chart here. There's my 8 1 disc. And I'm going to split it this time into 3 groups. So here's group 1, group 2, and group 3. Okay, so I'm going to split up my 8 1s. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I only have 2 left. So I can't split those 2 into 3 groups. So I'm going to have a remainder of 2. So how many are in each group now? Well, I have 2 here, I have 2 here, and I have 2 here. So I have 3 equal groups of 2. So that worked, and I have a remainder of 2. So let's see what it works out as if I multiply it over here. So I know if I take 3 times 2, that's going to get me close to 8. That's what I have here. 3 times 2 would be 6. And if I subtract 8 minus 6, well, looky there. I have 2 left over, just like I did on my place value chart. So my quotient is 2. I have a remainder of 2. So now I'm going to use the inverse operation. I'm going to multiply. If 8 divided by 3 equals 2 with the remainder of 2, then 3 times 2 should equal 6 plus 2. So let's see. 3 times 2 is going to equal 6. And then if I add my remainder of 2 back in, I'm going to have 8. So that's what I started with. I know my work is correct. All right. Now let's look at number 4 here. On number 4, we have 38 divided by 3. So I already had 8 ones. Well, now I have 3 tens. So I'm going to have to put my 3 tens in my place value chart. So there's my disc to represent my 3 tens. And then I'm going to put my 8 ones in my ones place. There's my 8 ones. And this time I want to divide this into 3 groups. So there's group 1, group 2, and group 3. All right. So now I'm going to split my 3 tens by into my 3 groups. Well, that's kind of easy. I put 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here, and there we go. No more tens. So I'm done with my tens. Let me go over here to my 8s. So I'm going to put 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. So I've used 3. I'm going to put 1 here, I'm going to put 1 here, and put 1 here. So now I've used 6. Well, I only have 2 left, so I can't split that between the 3. So it looks like I'm going to have a remainder of 2. And now I can't just look at my ones because in these groups I've used tens and ones. So here I have 12 because I have 1 10 and 2 ones. I have 1 10 and 2 ones here, and I have 1 10 and 2 ones here. So I actually have 3 groups of 12, and then I'm going to have 2 left over. So I'm going to rewrite this division problem as 38 divided by 3, just because I need to have it a little bit bigger, okay? So I'm going to divide my 3 ones into my 3 tens to start out with. Well, I know that 3 ones will go into 3 tens 10 times, or 1 10. So 3 times 1 is going to be 3 tens. I'm going to subtract that. 3 minus 3 is going to be 0. And if I subtract the 8 from the 0 that's imaginary here, I'm going to bring it down so I have 8 ones remaining. So then over here I have that 2 ones is in each group. Well, I know that 2 times 3 is 6, and that's as close as I can get to 8. Because if I go above that, for some reason my recording's stalling here. What's going on? Sorry about that, guys. It was froze up on me for some reason. Okay, so 3 times 2 is 6. And so I've used 6 of my 8 ones, so I have 2 remaining. So I have a remainder of 2. 12 remainder 2. Well, it's the same thing I got over here. Okay, so now we're going to use our inverse operation, and we're going to check our work with multiplication. All right, so if I take my 12, which is my quotient, and I multiply that times 3, which was my divisor, 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 1 10 is going to be 3 tens. And then I have to add in that remainder of 2. So 36 plus 2 is going to be 38. So I've checked my work, and I am correct. Yay me. All right, guys. I want you to go ahead and attempt to do 5 and 6 independently. Now, before you do this, I want you to notice that something I want to show you here. I am going to go ahead and do one part with you, and then you can finish the rest of it, okay? I want you to look at this 86 divided by 4. Guys, I know some of you love to draw your groups, and then you want to draw 80 dots. And then it takes forever to count how many dots are in each group of 4. You don't need to do that when you're using the place value chart, because you know that this 80 is the same thing as having 8 tens. So you just draw your 8 tens in your tens column. Now, isn't it a lot easier to draw 8 dots than to draw 80 dots? So I want you guys to think about that as you're working on this, okay? So go ahead and do 5 and 6 independently, and then come back and check your work with me when you're done. All right, so let's see how you did. So I have 6 divided by 4. So you should have put 6 ones in your place value chart and split them into groups of 4. So you would have had 1 in each group, and you should have had 2 left over. So when you write that as your division problem, 4 will go into 6 one time. 1 times 4 ones is 4. 6 minus 4 is 2, so you have the remainder of 2. Same thing you had over in your place value chart. So if I multiply to check my work, I have 4 times 1 is 4, and then I add my 2 back in, and I have 6. So I did it correctly. All right, so let's look at number 6. Number 6, you had 86 divided by 4. Let me straighten this up a little bit. So you should have had 8 tens split into 4 groups. You have 2 in each group. And then you have 6 ones split into 4. So you have 1 in each group. And again, you have your remainder of 2. So 86 divided by 4, I came over here and wrote it so that I had a little bigger. So I divided my 8 tens by 4 ones, and that was 2 tens. 2 tens times 4 ones is going to give me 8 tens. 8 minus 8 is 0, so I had to bring down my 6 ones. 4 will go into 6 one time. 1 times 4 was 4. So I used 4 of my 6 ones. So when I subtract, I have 2 ones left. So 21 remainder 2. Well, if I look over here at my place value chart, I notice I didn't write that for you. But over here, each group, I have 2 tens and 1 1. So I have 21. This group, I have 21. Whoops, my lead broke. This group, I have 21. And this group, I have 21. So I got the same thing. 4 groups of 21 with a remainder of 2. When I multiplied to check myself, I multiplied 21, which was my quotient, times 4, which was my divisor, and I got 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 2 tens is 8 tens, so I have 84. I add in my remainder of 2. My final answer is 86. So I hope that you understood what you were doing. If you did not, then please come ask me, and I will be happy to help you. If you are comfortable with this lesson and you feel like you understand it, then you may go ahead and get your exit ticket from the front and go ahead and complete your exit ticket and turn it in to me. All right. Good job. What is